What if I told you war didn't become expensive because it got bigger? It became expensive because it got smarter. One invention quietly rewired human history, collapsed empires, reshaped money, and turned violence into an industry. That invention wasn't the bomb. It wasn't the tank. It wasn't even the nuclear weapon. It was gunpowder. And once it entered the world, war was never cheap again. Intro war before gunpowder. For most of human history, war was brutally simple. If you wanted power, you needed bodies. Strong men, sharp blades, endurance, courage. Armies were small because they had to be. Weapons were personal. A sword took years to master. Armor was handmade. Battles were decided face to face. And most importantly, war was limited by human muscle. Kings didn't conquer the world because they couldn't afford to, not financially. Physically, the old economy of violence before gunpowder, power worked differently. A wealthy lord could buy armor, a skilled blacksmith could forge weapons, a loyal knight could defend. But no matter how rich you were, you couldn't mass-produce violence. Training soldiers took years. Placing them took generations. Battles were costly, not in money, but in people, made war rare. Careful, calculated. Then came a black powder that changed everything. The accident that changed history. Gunpowder wasn't invented to kill. It was discovered in China by alchemists searching for immortality. Instead of eternal life, they created controlled explosions. At first, gunpowder was used for fireworks, celebrations, signals. But humans do what humans always do. They weaponized it, and once that happened, the cost of war stopped being measured in bodies alone. It started being measured in money. When skills stopped mattering, here's the terrifying truth about gunpowder weapons. They don't care how strong you are. They don't care how brave you are. They don't care how skilled you are. A peasant with a musket could kill a knight trained since childhood. Centuries of martial hierarchy collapsed overnight. Armor became useless. Swordsmanship became obsolete. Elite warriors lost their advantage. Power shifted not to the strongest, but to whoever could produce, supply, and organize. War became a factory problem. This is where everything changes. Gunpowder weapons needed factories. Supply chains, standardized parts, logistics, storage, transportation. You couldn't just raise an army anymore. You had to finance one. Suddenly, states needed taxes, bureaucracies, debt banks. War moved from the battlefield into the economy. The birth of the gunpowder economy. Gunpowder didn't just change warfare, it changed the government itself. To fight wars, rulers needed steady revenue, long-term financing, centralized control. This led to modern taxation systems, national debts, state banks, permanent armies. War was no longer an emergency. It became a standing expense. Why empires rose and fell. Empires that mastered the gunpowder economy thrived. Those that didn't. The Ottoman Empire rose because it invested heavily in cannons. European powers expanded because they industrialized weapons production. China fell behind when it failed to militarize its own invention. Victory no longer depended on courage. It depended on accounting. The true cost of modern war. Here is the uncomfortable part. Gunpowder didn't make war deadlier at first. It made it repeatable. If soldiers die, you replace them. If weapons break, you manufacture more. If money runs out, you borrow. This is how war escaped moral limits. As long as credit existed, war could continue. Banks entered the battlefield. Wars became so expensive that kings couldn't afford them alone, so they turned to bankers. Loans funded cannons, debt paid soldiers, interest prolonged conflict. Entire financial systems grew around war financing. Modern capitalism didn't emerge despite war. It emerged because of it. Industrialization. The final shift by the Industrial Revolution, war had fully transformed. Factories replaced forges, assembly lines replaced craftsmen, explosives replaced blades, killing became efficient, impersonal, scalable. War was no longer fought by warriors, it was fought by systems. When war became permanent, here's the twist no one talks about. Once war depends on factories and debt, peace becomes expensive. Shutting down production hurts economies. Ending conflict collapses demand. Millions of jobs rely on preparation for war. The gunpowder economy didn't just enable war. It made it structural. The modern world is still running on Today's wars don't look like musket lines, but the logic hasn't changed. Missiles instead of cannonballs, drones instead of muskets, microchips instead of powder. Technology increased the distance between killer and victim, but it also increased the cost. Modern war is not fought to win quickly, it's fought to be sustainable. The shocking realization: gunpowder didn't just rewire warfare. It rewired governments, economies, power, and equality. Violence became professional, centralized, budgeted. War stopped being a failure of diplomacy. It became a business model. The human cost, we don't see the scariest part. Most people never feel it. The cost of war is hidden in taxes, inflation, debt, opportunity lost. You don't see the battlefield, you see the bill. The lesson history is trying to teach: every major leap in military technology promises safety, but it always delivers something else. Higher costs, bigger systems, less control. Gunpowder didn't make war inevitable, it made it affordable to repeat, and that changed everything. So here's the question history leaves us with. If technology keeps making war easier to fund, harder to stop, more distant from human judgment, what comes after gunpowder? And when the next shift arrives, will we recognize it in time? Comment your thoughts below. Like this video if it changed how you see history. Subscribe to Finance Ted Official, because money doesn't just move markets, it moves wars.